Well, at the same time, funeral preparations for the late Tanzanian former president, Benjamin Mkapa, are in the final stages. Mkapa, who died a few days ago, led the country from 1995 to 2005. He was 81. For more on the story, we are now joined by our correspondent, Daniel Kijo, who is in Dar es Salaam. A very good afternoon to you, Daniel, and thank you very much for joining us, as always. Just as a start, take us through what you know at this stage when it comes to the funeral preparations of the late statesman.
Yes, it is indeed a sad day. It is a day that the nation and Africa said goodbye to one of Africa's sons and one of Tanzania's great leaders. This morning around 10:11 at the Uhuru Stadium, right next to the National Stadium, President Magufuli led the final respect ceremony and was accompanied by thousands of Tanzanians who came to say goodbye to our father Benjamin Mkapa. We know that members of the diplomatic community were there, members from all political parties were there. We know that it was a sad day. So there was a short ceremony and leaders were given a chance to speak. President Magufuli gave a very touching speech. In fact, during the speech, he had to pause and compose himself after he wept and he shed tears. He cried as he was reciting the great experiences and memories of his mentor, because he says that the late President Benjamin Mkapa was the guy who saw the leadership qualities in him and fostered him as a leader to eventually now become president. So after that, the citizens of Tanzania were given a chance to say goodbye. They passed by and were able to have to pay the last respects. Thereafter, the body was taken and flown out of Dar es Salaam, about 600-700 kilometers from Dar es Salaam to Mtwara, Masasi, where tomorrow the body will be laid to rest in his family home.
We're sort of honoring two big giants in Africa, aren't we? This side in South Africa, we're saying goodbye to Andrew Mlangeni, and your side, you're saying goodbye, of course, to Benjamin Mkapa. I'll tell you what's being said about Andrew Mlangeni is that, you know, he was a man of integrity and such a rich history, of course, that he has in terms of South Africa's history and fighting apartheid and so forth. Maybe you can take us through what people are saying about Benjamin Mkapa and his own history in terms of Africa and the liberation and the fight for liberation, really, of Africa, of the continent as a whole. Certainly, these are two giants of the struggle for liberation on this continent, isn't it?
Indeed, it's interesting that on this day, two leaders, as you said, are being we're paying our respects and laying them to rest. In fact, I would like to think that when Andrew Mlangeni came to Tanzania in the early 90s with former President Mandela to visit the Freedom Fighters Training College in Morogoro, the former president, the late Benjamin Mkapa, was in leadership then, and I think they might have definitely crossed paths. And talking about Southern African and basically African liberation, the late President Mkapa was very much a fighter for African freedom. And if you remember, as foreign minister in 1977, he gave a powerful speech at the UN Assembly where he was urging the UN to impose sanctions against the then apartheid-led South African government because he felt that that was not a just system. So Benjamin Mkapa has definitely been a man who has fought for Africans' freedom, very much like the legend Andrew Mlangeni, as you spoke on. But also, even after presidency, the late President Mkapa continued to be a mediator for many of the disputes in the East African region. The Burundi crisis, he went and tried to resolve that, and he was a big supporter of the East African community. So he indeed was a man who wanted Africa to unite and to be a strong player in the world.
Now, you're saying that his body is now being being flown or has been flown to Dar es Salaam. Would you have any idea as to what now happens? Does this become now just for the family? Sort of the formal proceedings that involved all in the country are done. Is this from this point to is it a family affair?
We're not very sure exactly the logistics in Mtwara region, but we do know that his body, yes, indeed, has been flown out there. We know he has a house and family there, so it obviously may not be as big of an event as the national last respect ceremony that was done in Dar es Salaam. Yeah. However, I'm sure there's some close people and close friends and politicians who worked with him. I'm sure people from the Benjamin Mkapa Foundation will be there, etc., etc. Indeed, a lot of the feelings from the masses were that they've lost an important player in Tanzania's leadership, and also in CCM, the ruling party, because he was also a strong advisor to many young politicians and trends within the political sphere. So in terms of knowing exactly who will be in Mtwara tomorrow, it's a bit hard to say, but I think a lot of us would love to be there to say goodbye to this great man.
All right, thank you very much, Daniel Kijo, our correspondent in Tanzania. Thanks very much for keeping us updated and all that history that you've shared with us. And of course, everything sort of ties together, doesn't it, when we talk about the African continent. Thank you very much, sir.